And we are live.
Thank you. I want to say hello to our CEO and staff. I want to say hello to our board members that's present today. And I want to say hello to our community that's involved. I want to call this meeting at order today at 11:03. Beverly, can we call for a quorum of the committee?
Yes, sir. Director O'Halloran. Director O'Halloran is present. Director Leggett.
Present.
Present. Director Emister.
Here.
Vice Chair Stone.
Present.
And Chairman Cody.
Present.
Chairman, we have a quorum of the committee.
All right, thank you, Beverly.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have two proposed agenda items for February 22nd board meeting. Our CEO, Mr. DeMassimo, will you and staff have any highlights to share with us today on these two items?
Certainly. So on the APTA membership renewal, we actually have a recommendation associated with some of the APTA activity as well. So we are recommending board approval of our FY 2022 APTA membership renewal. As you all are aware, APTA is the nonprofit international association that public and private sector transit properties belong to, advocates for the industry, and all modes of transit travel. It's an important organization for us in terms of its advocacy role and the kind of education role it can play. One of the things that, so we are supporting the annual membership dues for APTA is $26,000, and that amount is budgeted, and we recommend its approval.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on our reports to the committee, A through E. And at this point, I want to turn the floor back over to Mr. Massimo.
Okay, are we also still discussing the racial equity commitment pilot program?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Yes, do that first. Thank you.
Absolutely. We also recommend our participation in the pilot program. I know that this is something that Dr. Robinson has felt very strongly about, and we believe it's an important activity for us. Equity, particularly racial equity, at the core of our service and at the core of everything that we're doing. So we recommend our participation in the pilot program. And additional to that, and I'll ask Ms. Dumas if she could also cover this. We believe that we have, as you know, in several of the meetings, Dr. Robinson has asked about participation in the upcoming APTA meeting, the legislative meeting. And there is a funding, I guess it's a refund that was owed to us that's just been sitting in our APTA account. Ms. Dumas, do you want to talk a little bit about that and its availabilities to support Dr. Robinson's request for participation in that meeting?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So back in 2020, when COVID first started, we registered for the legislative conference that year. We paid that registration fee for 5 of our members to attend. And each member's registration was $1,100 at that time. However, APTA canceled because of COVID, and we were due a refund for an amount of $5,500. So for the last year and a half, we've been trying to recruit that refund. We've been speaking with different ones from APTA. And as of today, we still have someone in their accounting department that is researching, but they are planning to make sure CAT receives that refund or that credit. And that will allow Dr. Robinson to be able to attend the APTA legislative conference this year and without any impacts to the budget.
So recommendation from staff is on all of these APTA items, both the racial equity commitment pilot, the membership, And then Dr. Robinson's request that she's made several times in recent meetings about participation, we would recommend that we move forward on all of those items. And would entertain your approval of those individually or collectively, I suppose.
All right. Do we have any questions, comments?
Dr. O'Halloran, you're on mute.
Yeah, is there a specific meeting related to this equity at the APTA conference?
I know
I
that
don't-
at the
It usually
legislative,
has specific topics.
at the I've not seen the agenda yet for the legislative a meeting that's upcoming, Dr. O'Halloran, but my understanding is that because of the this racial equity commitment program is something that APTA is really trying to emphasize, that it will be a part of the topics of conversation that will be undertaken in that meeting. At least that's what I've been told by other participants and staff members and so forth. So I believe that there would be some value in her opportunity to participate, as well as our support of this. So I think that all of these are things that are interrelated.
All right, just so everybody's aware, APTA has a major conference in May in Columbus, Ohio. So if we're going to open up going to APTA meetings, we have to open it up to everybody over the next 5 months. And none of that's budgeted.
Certainly something that you all can discuss. We just knew that Dr. Robinson had been particularly asking both about that topic and then this upcoming meeting, and there's an opportunity for her to attend with, with the board's support.
Well, actually, the APTA meetings are at the discretion of the chairman.
All right.
There's no vote required on the board.
So we just get a list of whoever want to attend, and we can get that scheduled.
Yeah, we used to keep it to 3 and under.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get that to you, Chairman Cody, and then we'll discuss further the financial support necessary for it and how you would want to consider approvals for participation.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Right. I mean, possibly we should have some type of a policy or rules and procedures of how this should work, because, there don't appear to be any guidelines.
That is accurate. So Board Member Stone, one of the things that we are looking at, have not gotten to it in this first week and a half, but it is clear that a comprehensive evaluation of our policies and procedures is needed. A comprehensive evaluation, which is about to be underway, of a sort of a pay and class study. All the things that are organizationally related to how we manage, operate, and things that are related to governance are things that we need to really put some time and effort into over the coming months. So to your point, we can have consistency and a clarity around what we undertake and how we manage and operate.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah, like I said, the original concept was all the board members put in their request for the APTA conferences, and the board chairman picked 3 members to attend each one. That was basically the policy. I don't know if it's ever been written down anywhere.
Okay. We will work on establishing a policy for that too, Dr. O'Halloran. I think that's important. So I appreciate both you and Board Member Stone bringing that up. All right, reports to committee.
Yes.
So I know that the board has considered in the past some CEO and board governance training. One of the things, and I'm going to ask Ms. Dumas if she would put this up on the screen, one I would like to suggest to you that I think both the timing may be right and the focus and content may be right, is Deloitte does a business chemistry training. And it is all about how we work together. I've seen this used in boards, in particular the ATL, when that transit board was being formed in Atlanta. This was one of the tools that they used so that all the board members, it allows each of you individually to understand all those kinds of things and how you work together with others, but it also allows you to think about it from a team perspective. If we can scroll on up, it's an extremely valuable tool. You can see we can send this to you as well, but you can see it's an exercise that we would entertain about a half a day. And what we would like to do then is take the other half of the day and sort of blend that into the next item under reports on committee. One of the things that we are absent on right now is having a master transit plan and implementation strategy. And this week we began to work on what an outline of that would look like. So if we could begin to establish a day for the board to spend together, half of that day would be spent doing a business chemistry activity led by Deloitte. So we would have a professional facilitator and such for that group. And then the other half of the day would be spent in the board beginning to work on this master transit input that you would like to provide in terms of the vision and the goals and so forth. And the next year, what we would spend in actually developing that, a community-led process for developing that plan. We've identified the cost for that plan to be approximately $500,000. 400,000 of that is available to us right now through the MPO with some leftover or some uncommitted PL funding that they have available. And the $100,000, the 20% match would be available through our partners as well as us. And so what we've done is looked at it from a public, community, and private partners partnership. And we know that the city of Savannah has already indicated an interest in participating. We believe the county will as well, and ourselves, of course, but the airport has also indicated an interest, and we believe that CETA is interested as well. So it would be a really strong partnership, and we've already developed just a framework of what we would be proposing to do and what it would accomplish for us. And I think the really important part of this is establishing that vision, establishing where we are and where we want to go. But the other part of it is, which is absolutely critical, is the implementation strategies that go along with it. So it's not just a plan. It's not just a story or that we're telling or what we're talking about, but it's what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So wanted to, I think, present those two things together a bit and seek your interest in setting up a day-long meeting to engage in those two activities.
I'm just hoping it turns out better than the Doug Eady program did.
I understand that the past experience was a little less than successful, perhaps.
Yeah, and we should remind the members that APTA is going to replay those two transit board member seminars.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my other thought.
Well,
and just a reminder, I saw on Facebook actually yesterday, the city is holding a strategic planning lecture with Dr. Julie Olson tomorrow at 1, which looks promising.
Beverly, one other thing, if you don't mind, and I think also then Board Member Edminster had a comment as well. Do you have the screen from yesterday that showed about the master transit plan, the sort of pieces of what it would do and how, if we can put that up for the board members to see as well.
Okay.
And Board Member Edminster, I believe you had a comment or question.
Yes. So to be clear, what the presentation that you just sort of said real quick, it kind of seemed like two different parts, one of which sort of encased in the other. One is board development and training, which is a business chemistry through Deloitte. And then that would be sort of an initial training in order to help us all work on a much, much, much larger project, which is the planning, the planning thing, which sounds like, because I know Dr. O'Halloran had mentioned that this was related to what Doug Eady did, and I would say yes, but also no. The first part a little bit, but the second part, this transit master plan, is seriously needed. I think a lot of the things that we're all bringing to staff over and over again, I know especially you, Helen, about with the microtransit, is in here. This is really a key critical thing. The last time we did this was also not super successful, and so I think taking a new approach to it, doing some more development, making sure that we have, strong ties with the city and the county and CETA and the airport is going to be critical to making that happen.
I think it's so important that they've actually are committed to providing match funding to this. When everybody's got a funding commitment, then everybody really is vested in the outcome. And you can see here, this was what I had described would be the why would we have one? Well, here's the goals that we have, and I won't read them to you, you can see them, but these are the kinds of things that we really need to be focusing on and doing in order for us to have that network of transit system, whether that's bus or ferries or whatever, but that multimodal system that's so important so that we can serve everyone in the community and we can connect everyone. And then the key outcomes would be that we would have these goals and objectives for our public transportation that the community had agreed on, that we had agreed on, that our partners were at the table to help us develop. And then we would have this identification of key public transportation corridors. What are the improvements in key corridors? What are the service recommendations? What are the policies and programs in addition to the infrastructure that we need to support transit? Where do we need more sidewalks? Where do we need traffic signal preemption? Where do we, there's literally just a multitude of things, as well as policies and programs. And certainly the equity piece that we were talking about earlier would be part and parcel of policies and so forth. And then funding and implementation recommendations. And I'm a planner by trade, by background, education, and years of experience. And so I'm obviously a supporter of strategic plans, but strategic plans are only as good as the funding and implementation recommendations that go with it. I would have to tell you that's because it's not what we talk about what we're going to do. It's about that, but also then getting it done. Because if we don't get it done, it's not making a difference in the lives of those in the community that we are here to serve and connect. So the funding and implementation recommendations piece of this is absolutely critical. And when done really well, it's, there's really a very robust way of looking at all of the funding opportunities and then very specific and strategic implementation strategies that go with each of the things that are recommended in there, whether it's a program of projects or an individual, more major project perhaps, that will then ensure that we are able to do what we say we're going to do. So I think this is absolutely critical for us in order to move forward successfully. And it's the perfect time to do it as we take a little bit of pause to get our house in order. All the things that we're doing right now in terms of assessing policies and procedures, our structure of how we recruit and the kind of talent that we have, and how we're using everyone and how we're developing everyone. We're getting our financial house in order. And I know that we've got Ms. Cutter, CFO Cutter on the phone too. And I know we're going to talk about some more of those things as well, but this is absolutely key to our future. And I can't tell you how forward I look to working with you on this and to having this truly be a community-led process. So when we're done in about 6 months, we've got something that we know we can do, and we got something that we know everybody's at the table with us to get it done.
I was just wondering as a question, how is this going to tie into the One Savannah plan that Chairman Ellis is working on?
We would be fully coordinated with the county on their efforts, and it would have to be reflected in this. And the other thing too is what this also would result in is in addition to what the county's working on and One Chatham, it also needs to work with the MPO's program so that what comes out of this is ready to go right into the TIP and the RTP where our eligibility for federal funding lies. So there's a lot of different coordination points that are going to be critical throughout this process. Thank you for bringing that up, Dr. O'Halloran. That's very important. Is there a level of support for us to proceed in further developing out what we just talked about?
I'm very interested in having that happen, if I may. I think that, yes, definitely for me, and I'm happy to corral support, not only from different board members, but from anybody else, literally everybody. I mean, that's very key. One thing that you had mentioned, the 6-month timeline, that seems very fast for something like this, which I think is important that we get it done. I just think if we need to take a little bit longer, I'm not going to be upset if you guys come back to me and you say, actually, it's a little bit longer than 6 months.
And I appreciate you bringing that up. I think the plan itself will take about a year to develop, but the 6 months that we're sort of taking a bit of a step back, for example, from applying for additional grants and so forth. It's very important that we take this 6 months of getting our house in order so that we can demonstrate that as we produce this plan, that it's one we're going to be able to implement, we can deliver. You can have confidence in our ability to manage and deliver. So the 6 months I was referring to, and I apologize if I wasn't clear about that. The 6 months is to take a moment of time to get our house in order, spend our time with all those other operational and management tools that we were talking about earlier, as well as some of the policy and governance development. But this plan would take approximately a year.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like to say this. I believe this is a great plan and off to a very good start. Like you said earlier, Mr. Massimo, it will bring all of us together, and that's what you need to run an organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to mention too that we are paying the 26 grand to APTA that members start using their services. We are all members. You can log in, register yourself, go in and look at any single program that they offer, and we don't use it very often.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Any other questions then on those matters? All right, well, we will proceed with development of those. On the paratransit labor agreement execution, I wanted to let you know that we have completed the paratransit labor agreement that's through June 30th, and we are already doing our preparatory work to be prepared for upcoming negotiations that would contemplate obviously paratransit beyond that timeframe, but also the fixed route union negotiation as well. So we're already at work on our internal work to prepare for that, and looking forward to it. We had a meeting, by the way, with the union this past week, and I believe that it was incredibly productive. There were, it was really just a meet and greet, get to know each other and hear from each other kind of meeting. But there were 4 items that the union brought up in that meeting that were actually very simple to problem solve for. Things like, masks in the stations and cup holders on the buses that were in a proper state of repair for drivers that are out early in the morning and have a cup of coffee with them and so forth. I mean, just simple things. There were 4 of them. Bus-to-bus communications was one that took a little bit longer. But as of Monday, we had completed and accomplished all of those things. They were simple, they were worthy, and we got them done. And so we're hoping that, those kinds of measures moving forward, when reasonable requests are made of us for things that can improve our bus operators, who are our biggest asset, in addition to, how that then impacts those who are, our riders and so forth. when we can do those simple things, it's great to do. Dr. O'Halloran, you have your hand up.
Yeah, going back to, for the moment on that development plan, we still need to have the board orientation and a retreat. I don't know if that's going to be before or after those events, but we're way behind on orientation.
Okay, we will, that is so noted, and we will get that scheduled. Thank you for the reminder on that. All right, one other item I wanted to mention is that I know that you are all familiar with Greta, CERTA, the ATL, so the big transit umbrella system in Atlanta. There are a couple of staff members up there who are just really, one in particular is expert in electric vehicles, and we've got some good news about that to share with you today as well. With electric vehicles, the other has decades of experience in some really creative professional director of transit. Her name is Gail Franklin, on bus operations. And we've asked them to come down. Chris Tomlinson, who heads up the ATL and CERTA and Greta, has committed to giving them to us for a week and just letting them come down and do a peer review for us and help point out some things that they see we're doing really well, some opportunities for improvement, and some things to think about. And they're going to do that just as a peer system to us and to help us out. So I think that's an exciting thing. It's always good when our professionals and our staff has a chance to interact with their peers from other systems like that, and we can learn together. Yes.
I like that idea. I think there's not many states, there's not many states in America that have a robust transit place or a robust transit in a metro like Atlanta. Really only a couple. And I think drawing on their knowledge could be very helpful. And with a, as the second largest metro in Georgia, that puts us in a helpful little place. And the only thing is I would be totally interested in meeting with them as well. I think I've met a couple people from MARTA and they've all been super kind, and it's just nice to know more people working on moving people around.
Very good. I'm glad to make sure that happens. I think you will enjoy meeting with the both of them. It's Gail Franklin is their director of transit. And Daryl Howell is, I think his actual title is bus operations manager, but he's really got just incredible expertise in electric vehicles, electric buses, that I think will be very, just very helpful to us.
I am going to prepare you all that I'm going to ask some of them about questions about incorporating public art into transit infrastructure. So be prepared for a long spiel from me about why we should do that.
Well, we have got some ideas that we are working on now. One of which is exactly that, particularly in our shelters. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a few minutes, I think. But we're working on a Re-Energizing Cat communication strategy. I met with Eric Curl, with Mr. Curl yesterday, and we came up with some really interesting ideas around sort of green streets, the electric vehicle initiative, shelter art, a way to have sort of a favorite customer contest, some things that could be kind of fun and very Savannah specific too. So just stay tuned for what we're developing there. Let's see. I was trying to think if there are any other. Let me ask Ms. Cutter, is there anything I've left off yet on the financial side that we need to go ahead and discuss with the governance committee?
You're muted. You're muted, Ms. Cutter.
Not at this time, Mr. Massimo. I think that there are some other items for discussion, but that would be an executive session.
Correct. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention that we are working on, I mentioned the Re-Energizing Cat. If we've talked about the master plan, we were able to secure a spot for one of our electric bus vehicles in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And it will be sort of our little bit of a teaser, if you will, that electric vehicles are coming. And our plan then is going to be to pilot them out on Earth Day. So that's when we'll do a much bigger sort of rollout that will be that all the board members will be able to participate in and so forth. But we are actively testing the routes and all those kinds of good things now. We were looking at height clearances. But we were very, Mr. Backer was very helpful in helping us get a sort of a late breaking spot in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And we thought that was an excellent place then to showcase our electric vehicles so that when we roll out on Earth Day that we've put a little something out there to get the community excited about that. And I think that's it for right now. I think that's all the material that I had to share until we go into executive session. Chairman Cody, did you have any other questions or comments for me?
No, ma'am.
And I do want to tell you all while we're still in sort of the public format, I've been on board now. I guess this is about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And this is just such an incredible organization and incredible opportunity. And I want to thank you all again for the opportunity to be here and the opportunity to serve and the future that lies before us. It's just exciting. So we're gonna have a lot of accomplishment.
Thank you.
We thank you. One
Thank
thing
you.
for sure, you've been keeping us fully aware of everything going on, and that's much appreciated. Thank you.
All
Did
right.
we hit the human capital?
I beg your pardon? The
The
human capital report was delayed. There was we will not be making it this month. We confirmed this morning there were some issues in the report with actually there are certain pieces of the report that have to be put in an sort of converting it into an anonymous kind of arrangement for public presentation. And because of some of the late breaking, both COVID call outs, that kind of thing coming in, that conversion of the report had not yet been completed. And so we are going to delay that report till the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. All right. Ms. Dumas, can we go ahead now and I guess adjourn into executive session?
Yes, ma'am. We'll just take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Motion.
Okay. Motion by Dr.
Second.
O'Halloran, seconded by
Second.
Director Stone.
I vote
Yes.
yes, and I'm getting more water.
Okay, I'll do the roll call vote. For the governance members, we have Director O'Halloran,
Present.
Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Emister. And he gave us his yes. Director Stone
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start the breakout rooms. Thank you.
Was that a present vote or a yes vote from Dr. O'Halloran?
Present. Oh, it is a yes. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Nothing gets past tie.
Okay, motion passed to enter into executive session. Thank you.
Eric, it looks like somebody is still sharing a screen.
Okay, we are back live.
Okay, thank you. I want to say that there were no votes or action taking place in executive session today. And now we want to move on to old and new business. Do we have any updates for St. Patrick's Day Parade?
We've mentioned that earlier in the call. We will be participating in the St. Patrick's Day Parade with one of our electric vehicles. We are working on the Re-Energizing Cat Program. Mr. Curl has done a great job of reacting to the challenge I gave him to let's really do some things that really start some positive energy behind all the things we're doing. There's a lot of great activity going on with CAT. And what are some of the new things that we could do that be fresh? And so he's done a great job of that. So we're going to be moving forward with that Re-Energizing Cat plan and bringing those individual activities back before you over coming meetings.
If I may on that, both to Eric and to you as well, in the Bull Street Library, there's a file with the collection of maps and articles and pamphlets that CAT has put out for the last 40 years. And it is a treasure trove of how transit has changed and morphed in this country, in this, in the city for decades. It's really, really quite interesting.
That's excellent. Thank you for
Yeah,
pointing that out. Eric may have already been aware of that. I was not. I will go and spend some time there now.
It's a good time.
One of the things when you said maps, you made me think of it. We were out this morning, very early this morning, meeting with the bus drivers as they were leaving the yard this morning to start their routes early in the morning. And Eric brought out a group of the Black History Month maps to put on the buses to help promote all of the extraordinary places in Savannah that recognize the exceptional contributions of places in our community that celebrate Black history. So we were very excited about getting more of that information out this morning. So we've talked about the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We are working on the ferry grants matters right now. So I'll have at an upcoming meeting, I'll have a progress report for you on the ferry grants that are with FTA right now that we're working on, and the master plan. And we will start to work, as we discussed earlier in the meeting today. We'll get started with the work of setting up that one day with the board to do both some board activity and then do some master visioning around how you want to see the framework of that plan begin to be carried out into the community over the course of the next year for community-led design. And I think that's it. So thank you all very much. Again, I'm honored to be here and just really glad to be a part of the CAT family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thank everybody for attending today's meeting. At this time, I want to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.